Ladies and gentlemen, I'm filming this introduction in hindsight. I've just finished filming the video. I wanted to say the message at the end of the video is very, very important, but I go through quite a lot of context to get there. It's very important to stick around for that context because without the context, you won't really understand how I've come to that conclusion. The middle part of this video could come across as relatively convoluted, but if you see it through, it will make perfect sense, I'm sure. We're going to be discussing the recent drop downwards which occurred in traditional markets and hence on Bitcoin due to the Israel-Iran conflict. This is occurring just 2 days after I posted this video about the potential altcoin season occurring if we broke the level that I discussed in that video. Now, we didn't break that level, and that's why in that video, I specifically said on multiple occasions, it's not time to buy yet. We need to see the level break first. That big level I'll be discussing extensively today. It's the USDT dominance chart, the Tether dominance chart, which may sound relatively abstract if you haven't brought it up before, but the exact level that we needed to break the other day, which we failed to do, is the level that marked the 2021 all-time highs. Not many people look at this chart, and I think they really need to start doing so. Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, any potential for any sort of altcoin season will certainly not occur unless this level breaks, and therefore we need to see this level break before making any significant purchases. I'll discuss this in relation to the broader 4-year cycle, what a potential top target could look like for the 4-year cycle at this point, considering we're pushing very close to the deadline. I'll discuss abnormalities within the cycle and the potential for the cycle to break, and of course my reaction to that. I'll also look into just the regular Bitcoin chart, the regular Ethereum chart, and any remaining potential for an altcoin season will be discussed as well. I don't think that's completely off the table. Right, let's get into it, guys. But before we get into it today, guys, please go ahead and check out the Bitunix Exchange. If you want an exchange or if you want a new exchange, this is the one. It's global non-KYC. It's never been hacked before, no security breaches, and it's been on the market since 2021. So pretty exceptional track record, especially for a globally accessible exchange. Very low in trading fees. It's got all the trading pairs and features that you would have on any other major exchange. And with my referral link down below, you can get a 15% trading fee discount attached to your account for life. They didn't reach out to me for partnership. They didn't offer me any deal or anything like that. I actually reached out to them because I use this exchange personally. So I suppose that's a little testament to how much I like it. The link is down below. Sign up with that link, get that discount, help out the channel, help out yourself. Guys, let's get into the content. About 2 hours before the drop on Bitcoin across the markets, I asked the question, will Bitcoin break all-time highs in June to the community in a poll format? And if we're disregarding some of the original answers because they would have been answered before the drop actually occurred and hence biases would have changed since then, we've got a 50-50 split essentially. Half of you think it's going to break all-time highs in June, half of you don't. And it's interesting that this keeps occurring. I mean, all the polls I've done really, or a lot of the polls I've done in the recent months have just been a 50-50 split, indirect answers, no clear consensus. And I think this does represent what's going on in the market right now. It's very difficult to have a consensus on a market that has been ranging for so long. Okay, and this applies even into my own analysis. I am macro bullish because of the 4-year cycle. The 4-year cycle underpins all Bitcoin price action, and it suggests, as per its date range trend, that we see the top in October 2025. And by the way, the 130K region, which I've discussed many times on this channel as a potential target, is looking more and more likely the closer we get to that deadline because we have less and less time to make a bigger move. But that's the topic for another video. 130K at this point is getting a lot more likely in my view. But again, we'll discuss that in a future video. What I'm trying to make here is that it's very difficult to have a concise opinion about Bitcoin medium term when it's been ranging in the same macro range for months, right? Since November. Okay, we had a fake out, we had a deviation. Let's delete all these lines here and just zoom back and I'll show you what we're talking about. So we have these 2 yellow lines. They're cyclically relevant because they stem back to the peaks of prior cycles. They cut right through the price action. And in my view, they form the top and bottom of the current macro range. We saw a fake out deviation below in the form of a descending wedge formation, which we could draw up a bit more concisely, but there it is right there. That wedge broke to the upside. That fake out was over. And now we're back in the range again. So we haven't actually made a new macro move on Bitcoin since basically November, when we got back into this range for the first time. For that reason, it's very difficult to assess the situation in terms of deadlines. Like, how do we know when the next move is going to happen? We know the next move probably is going to happen because of the 4-year cycle. And that will be debunked, that will be invalidated if we drop below the range. If we drop below the range, drop below $93,000, then this bull market is over, the 4-year cycle is debunked. But until that occurs, we are still in the 4-year cycle. We do know the move is probably coming at some point, but answering when is very difficult when, we've had 7 months in the same range. And that's probably the justification for seeing these constant 50-50 splits in the polls. Now, Bitcoin has about 140 days into its cyclical top deadline. Now, again, that top doesn't have to happen then. We could break the cycle, but I think it's irrational to assume that we will until we see evidence of it occurring, right? That's been my opinion for years in this market. 140 days into a cyclical top, roughly, more or less. 140 days is not a long period of time, okay? It's about 4.5 months. So with this recent short-term breakdown, what do we expect to happen next? How long do we expect it to last? Well, the devastating part about this breakdown was not necessarily Bitcoin based. I mean, Bitcoin did some pretty rough stuff, okay? It broke down below a local support zone, which it did a lot of work to flip, okay? This support zone right here, previously support and resistance, this red rectangle I'm talking about, held as resistance from the 29th all the way through to the 9th. That's a 10-day period, 11-day period. We finally broke to the upside with a clear volume surge, a clear impulsive move to the upside there. Found new resistance diagonally, the Iran news came out, and we dropped right back down with no hesitation. Complete waste of time. Now, that resistance zone remains relevant once more. Again, I will say, for a short-term move to occur and an attempt at all-time highs once more, we need to break that exact same level. Nothing changes there. Ethereum is a similar circumstance. The Ethereum chart I have on the screen here is a little bit messy, but I want you to bear with me here. It's very important to understand it. Pay attention to the volume profile on the right-hand side of the screen in yellow, and pay attention to the massive peaks and valleys in this volume profile. The valleys represent a magnet type effect. Okay, when you get over the hump and you enter this downward slope, the price will move very rapidly towards the bottom of the valley. Then it's facing a massive hill once more, and of course climbing a hill is very difficult, and so the price will slow down. It's facing resistance. That's how to understand the volume profile, peaks and valleys. Going down into a valley is very easy. Going up through a peak is very difficult. Support and resistance, a good analogy to understand it. Now, Ethereum has layered support as per the volume profile until all the way down here at 2,200. If it loses that level, just like what happened right here, it will slump down rapidly and we will likely be in a bear market. Now, what we did in recent days is we came right up to the valley. We got over the peak here, came right up into the valley. I know it's weird talking in analogies like this, but it is a good way to understand it. Found very strong resistance as we were approaching a trek back uphill, and that was going to be from 2,900 around 2,800 region. And you can see that even using visual identification, this red rectangle very clearly identifying support and resistance historically in this price region. We unfortunately saw the Iran news come out exactly as that retest was occurring. Couldn't be more frustrating. And worse than that, it came out basically, it came out only over here somewhere, but the peak of this move actually faked out above the top of the potential wedge structure Ethereum was forming. So we had kind of this fake out, this glimpse of hope, and it just rolled over, unfortunately. So completely brutal there. Now we could be forming something akin to, we have this wedge formation here, could be something akin to a ascending channel formation now. Regardless, they're both bearish structures, and so it's not looking very good. Okay, it's quite ugly right now with these Ethereum charts and Bitcoin charts on a local level. Now, Bitcoin could see a flip back upwards here and a retest of this resistance zone, but that very well could end up in a resistance support flip and go back down to 100,000 or lower. We have support layered in that $93,000 to $96,000 region, again, as per volume profile, this time on Bitcoin, and as per the bottom of the macro range in yellow. So until $93,000 is lost, I do think this still is a bull market. I do think the predominant bias should be upside. But in no way at all do I think this is time for buying. I even said that 2 days ago when I made this video, which, as per the title, it might seem like it's a super bullish euphoric video, but it really was not. All the video said was, we're looking quite good. We're approaching a major hurdle. If we cross that hurdle, things are going to be excellent. We didn't cross the hurdle, okay? And this is what I really want to talk about. It's the only thing that really matters right now. The rest of this video, it's all context. What matters is you understand what the hurdle is. The hurdle, in my view, comes from multiple charts, but one of the main charts that I'm seeing it come from is the USDT dominance chart. The chart that measures the dominance of Tether, the stablecoin, in the market. Now think about this, right? If Tether dominance in a percentage format is going to go down, that is a representation of people using their Tether to buy cryptocurrency. And so this chart going downwards is like cryptocurrency going upwards. This chart going upwards is the reverse. This chart going upwards is cryptocurrency going downwards. So we want this chart to drop, okay? Now, the issue with that is we have a major support line on this chart. Look at this red support band. Look at the time periods in which we have bounced off of this red support band, right? The 2021 all-time highs, both of them in March and November, were tested on this red support band, okay? This chart and the exact line we're testing right now, literally the exact same support line we're testing right now, marked the 2021 all-time highs. It's no surprise that Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is struggling to break upwards here when the same level that marked the all-time highs in 2021 is being retested and not breaking yet. We need this level to break down. And what's actually very interesting, if we want to get into this a little further, which we will do in possibly tomorrow's video, it's very interesting to see when this chart briefly did break down for a short fake out period of time. It happened in November. Now, not only was November an excellent month for the market because it meant the end of this descending channel that lasted 8 months and breaking into the current range, but November was also the last time period in the crypto market that altcoins were acting normally. Now, bear with me for a second. Let me explain that. Bitcoin dominance, right? The chart that directly measures altcoin seasons, essentially. When this chart goes downwards, altcoin season is happening. That's just pretty much the case, okay? We've had altcoin seasons historically that have lasted 315 days from the peak of the altcoin, the bottom of the altcoin season to the peak of the Bitcoin market, okay? 315 days on both occasions, both marking the end of the altcoin season at the cyclical deadline. If that was to occur this time, which it didn't, it got invalidated, we saw altcoin weakness. If that was to occur this time, it would have had to have started in November, right? And it did start in November very briefly. We saw the altcoin market performing exceptionally well for about 4 weeks there in November, and then everything went wrong, right? And then altcoins just went downwards dramatically, and there was no hype in the market, and everything kind of fell apart. But until November, the cycle was acting exactly the same as it did in the prior two occasions of 2021 and 2017. It's only in November that we saw these cyclical deviations start to occur. So it's very interesting that this USDT dominance chart broke down as expected in November, but then when the cyclical deviation started to occur, it got right back above that support zone, and now it's testing again, unable to break it down, okay? Something happened in November. Now that's dwelling on the past. Doesn't really matter what happened in November. We're here in June now, but it's very important, I think, to understand what's happened here cyclically. Until November, everything was normal. After November, things have changed. And so the question a lot of people who doubt the 4-year cycle have been bringing up is, well, given the fact that everything kind of went wrong in November, how do we know that the cycle will maintain and work until October? And the answer is we don't. We don't know whether it will. But the only way to find out is to get to October and assess the situation then. Cycles act differently. Every cycle is different, right? 2021 was this kind of double peak kind of structure. 2017 was straight to the upside. 2013 was, again, a double peak kind of structure, but the second top was significantly higher than the first. So every cycle has been different. The norm within the trend is cycles are different. Now, this cycle could just be different again. It could just be a weird cycle in which we see these long drawn out consolidations followed by short moves. And obviously a market environment of long drawn out consolidations is not conducive to hype. And with no hype, there's no altcoin performance. And so it's a Bitcoin orientated cycle. That could be the case. And the 4-year cycle very much could still be in play. Or everything could be screwed and we just don't know it yet because we're not at the cyclical deadline. We don't know. There's no way to know. But in my view, it's best to stick with the trend that has never been invalidated until it's actually invalidated. All of this is to say, some weird stuff is going on here. We don't know whether it will be resolved, but what we do know is that until this level right here, in red, is broken to the downside, we're probably not in the clear on any macro move. So I'm really going to be focusing on this USDT dominance level, as I have been for many weeks now, as I was even in this video 2 days ago. Do I still see a chance for an altcoin season? I actually do. I do still see a chance for an altcoin season. I don't think it will be anything like what we've seen before. I don't think it will be nearly as big. But in terms of a traditional altcoin season, in definition, where Bitcoin dominance go down and altcoins outperform Bitcoin for a period of time, I do think that is possible. Because if Bitcoin does see this next move to the upside, it stands to reason that Ethereum could dramatically outperform Bitcoin, as it has done on every local move since the bottom, which we saw back here in April, okay? On every move since April, really, the bottom in April. Ethereum has outperformed Bitcoin on local moves. So if we did see a big macro move, I don't see why that trend would change. Ethereum BTC, the chart that measures the strength of Ethereum against Bitcoin, is still primed for a break to the upside. We've still got a massive momentum indicator resistance coming back from 2021, which is getting very close to a breakout. All it's going to take is a little budge and that will break out. Exact same thing on the short-term chart. Okay, some sort of ascending triangle structure, getting close to a breakout, retesting support once more. Got very close to a breakout about 2 days ago, which is why I made that video. Didn't quite see it, rejected downwards once more. I do still think that the altcoin season is on the table. I don't think it will be anything like what we've seen in prior cycles due to the prior cycle trend of how long altcoin seasons last and what they look like being broken. It could be dramatically weaker. But fundamentally, whether we see any of this, including whether we see the next Bitcoin move to the upside, does depend on whether we can get over this big hurdle on the USDT dominance chart. And all of that needs to happen before Bitcoin breaks down below 93,000. Because if Bitcoin loses 93,000, you can count your bloody chickens, whatever the saying is, you can count your eggs before they even hatch because it's bloody over, okay? So a bit of a messy delivery today. It's a convoluted topic. There was so many avenues to go down, and I still feel like I have 10 minutes more to say. And I will say that in future videos, but I do want to cut this one off here so it doesn't get too convoluted beyond understanding, I suppose. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I really hope you enjoyed the video. Regardless, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And check out that Bitunix Exchange if you were interested. It's available pretty much globally, so you shouldn't have any issues signing up and using it. Non-KYC, hundreds of trading pairs, everything you'd expect from a major exchange. Very low in trading fees. And with my link down below, you'll get a 15% trading fee discount attached to your account for life. It's exceptionally good stuff there. Use that link down below to sign up. This is an exchange that's never been hacked before, not a single security breach in 3.5 years or 4 years now. So that's very, very good as well. Links down below. Appreciate you guys. Have a good one.